Hello and welcome everybody to our updated 2020 NFL final standings predictions plus some playoff predictions to go along with that. We are just going to be going regular season, then postseason, giving our predictions. We're halfway through the season now. We're going to be giving our predictions for the rest of the season and then the playoffs. And let's just jump right into it. Jack, you can get a start with your final regular season standings predictions.
Alrighty, I'm going to begin with the AFC and specifically the AFC North. This is a big one right here. I think a lot of us have the Steelers winning, definitely. I have the Steelers going 14-2, which wins the division. Ravens behind 13-3. The Ravens could drop down if Lamar can't play like last season. Lamar's regressed a tiny bit. He has not been coming in clutch recently, so I think the Ravens have the potential to go 13-3, but it's going to be tough for them to go or to do it. And Lamar's got to play better. Browns going 9-7. They're a decent team, but they're going to miss out of the playoffs. And the Bengals going 6-9-1. Moving on to the AFC South, I've got the Titans winning it over the Colts. Titans 12-4, Colts 10-6. This Colts team is going to make the playoffs, but they're going to have to go against the Steelers, which is a tough matchup. I just don't think they're ready. All they need is a quarterback that's going to be good for them down the line. Maybe Deshaun Watson, that's kind of floated around. Sam Darnold, if they can bring him in, if he's actually good. And because a lot of people think he's getting held down by the Jets, but, is he really? We'll have to see if he ever goes on another team. Colts 10-6, Texans 6-10, disappointing season from them. The Jaguars 2-14, started off strong, beating the Colts, and then kind of fell off after that. Moving on to the AFC East, the Bills 11-5. Patriots really did fall off in my predictions, going 3-13. I've got the Dolphins going 8-8. So the Bills, no surprise here. I think we all had them winning the division. Last episode, we said that the Patriots had a chance of coming back, but after seeing Cam Newton's play, it's not looking so good. And if you have to resort to Jarrett Stidham, that's not good either because he's thrown, 3 or 4 interceptions this season, I believe. This Dolphins team is a decent team overall. They're nothing special, but 8-8, 500. I think they're good enough for that. And the Jets, 1-15. Maybe thinking, oh, they won a game. I was being a little bit nice to them, letting them win against the Patriots. This week, is it going to happen? Probably not. But you just got to spice things up, and I think they definitely can because this Patriots team has no momentum going into this game. Neither is the Jets, so it's an equal playing field. Patriots is definitely a better team, but, upsets can happen. Moving on to the AFC West, my division. I'll start from the bottom, go to the top. Broncos, 3-13. They beat the Chargers, but this is in a world where I think the Chargers can turn things around. The Chargers, they go up ahead by a lot in the second half, and they start playing more conservatively, but not well. They kind of just forget about playing defense. All they do is everyone gets back. You just try and prevent the big play. Teams can just get a bunch of small yard gains, get into the red zone, and then inevitably score. That was the most. I turned the game off. I turned the game off once the Broncos started scoring because I knew Chargers lost it automatically. I was sitting there looking at the score, touchdown in the final second. There was no seconds left. That's just crazy. Chargers going 8-8. I think they can turn it around. Justin Herbert's a stud. It's him and Burrow. Burrow and Herbert, the two faces of the future. They're both going to be stellar quarterbacks. Both going to lead their teams to a lot of success because both teams are very young. Raiders 11-5. I think this might be a little generous to this Raider team. I think that they're an average team overall, but looking at their schedule, I think that they can pull out an 11-5 record. If not 11-5, then 10-6. I think 9-7 at the lowest. I think they are a playoff team. Not a very great playoff team overall, or not a great playoff team, but they're a mediocre team. I think they need to start building a little bit more for the future. They've got some young pieces, but you really got to focus on the future because if you're mediocre right now and you're going to lose some pieces soon down the line, then you're going to get even worse. So I think building around, building just a younger team. I got Josh Jacobs, who's young. He's a stud. He's a great running back, but they got to work on, either enhancing the team's skill now as in next season or building for the future. Chiefs 14-2. No surprise that the Chiefs are going to be winning the division here. 14-2 might be a little bit of a stretch. That may sound weird, but I do think that they might be 13-3 team, which I mean, it's better than most teams in the league. They're one of the best teams in the league. They just won a Super Bowl. No surprise there. That's going to wrap it up for the AFC. Moving on to my NFC picks. NFC North, Packers, 13-3. No surprise. Packers are one of the best teams in the league. The one problem they may have would be their, weapons in the wide receiver position, but that doesn't matter. You got Devontae Adams, the best receiver in the league right now. Fantasy monster. He's going to get pretty much all the targets on the Packers. You can do whatever you want to stop him, but you're just not going to stop him. 13-3. The Bears, I have them going 8-8. They're not a good team, but looking at the schedule, they're going to win some easy games. Lions 6-10, another Lion-type season, if you get what I mean. Lions just aren't a good football team. And then the Vikings, 5-11, just disappointing season for them overall. Who knows what happened? The Vikings kind of fell off. NFC South, start from the bottom. Falcons, 3-13. It's the Falcons. What more do you expect? The Falcons blow a big lead in the Super Bowl, and after that, they completely fall out of relevancy. Yeah. Panthers 8-8. I think they're a decent team. They're getting CMC back. Well, that's good. I mean, for some reason, they had more success without him than with him because I think they just give him the ball every single time. He does great stuff with it, but they kind of did a little bit better without him. But I think that's just a fluke. You're getting back the best running back in the league. Saints 11-5. I think they're really going to turn their they did turn their season around. We said that they really had to turn their season around. 11 is pretty good for the Saints, keeping their hopes alive, but they're not going to compete with the Buccaneers. 3 losses on the season, 13-3. Tom Brady, MVP candidate. The team's been playing great overall. They're just a stacked team. A lot of people either had them barely making the playoffs or barely missing out on the playoffs, but now I think they've proved haters a little bit wrong. 13-3 is a good spot for them, in my opinion. NFC East, yeah, this is the big one. The winner in the division is going 6-9-1. The Eagles, horrible. Every team here is bad. Every team here is a terrible team. Giants 2-14, Cowboys 3-13, football team 3-13, and then the Eagles 6-9-1, which is kind of, I think, too good for the Eagles. The NFC East does not deserve any wins at all. Now the best division in football, NFC West. 49ers, disappointing season. I mean, it's not really their fault. Injuries, Super Bowl hangover curse. There's really nothing they can do at this point, especially with Jimmy G and Kittle being out, 6-10. Rams, 11-5, they're a team. They're a really good team overall. Cardinals, 12-4, and the Seahawks, 14-2. Both the Cardinals and the Rams are going to be the wild card teams, 2 wild card teams here, because both are just great teams that deserve to make the playoffs. Kyler, he's not a top 3 MVP candidate, but I'd say top 5, top 7. The Rams are just a solid team overall. I think they can really secure a wild card spot going 11-5.
All right, I'll take it from here with my regular season picks. I'll start it off with the AFC North, just as you did. I'll start from the bottom in every division. So for the bottom, the AFC North have the Bengals at 5-10-1. I mean, we all just know the Bengals are, they're they're a pretty average team in my mind. Just kind of, they can compete, I think. I think they're one of those teams who loses a lot of games that are close, and wins a lot of games that are close. That's what's going to happen to Bengals in my mind, but I think they're going to lose more of those and they're going to end up winning. Next, I have the Browns at 9-7, who are just missing out on the playoffs due to tiebreakers. Sorry, Browns fans, but your tough division makes it so that your conference record is a little bit lacking, which causes you to miss out on the playoffs due to tiebreakers, but you still go 9-7, which if you had gone the tiebreaker would have put you in the playoffs. In second place are the Baltimore Ravens at 13-3, and first with the Pittsburgh Steelers at 15-1. Obviously, these 2 teams are very good, and the division can go to either of them. With the Pittsburgh taking the game last week in what I think was the hardest game of the season for them, putting them at 15. I think is the hardest game of the season for them. Baltimore coming off a bye in Baltimore and all that. So I think that I'll throw in one loss in there because I do have a couple of tough games. The Colts as a game I think that'll be tough as a Colts fan, a little biased, but I do think that could be a little tough for them, the Bills, and then also the Ravens again. And then obviously, in the NFL every week, you never know what can happen. Pittsburgh could be upset one week or something. I think, but they're a very complete team, so I'll put them here at 13-1. The Baltimore I think that if Baltimore won their game, I think it would be at least closer, maybe 14-2 and 14-2. Whoever gets tiebreaker gets tiebreaker, but I'm just going to leave it as it is right now. And then going into the AFC East, I'm going to have the Bills, I'll start at the bottom. I'll have the Jets in last place, probably expect that. I'm going to have them going 0-16. We talked about early in the season. Their opportunities to not go 0-16 were going to be the two Miami games, where we've seen that Miami has become a lot better team than what we thought of in week 3 or it might have been 4. I believe it was week 4 when Miami was 1-3. But now Miami's proved they're a lot better team, so I think the Jets honestly are going to go 0-16 here, just because I just don't see a game they could win. Maybe a game against the Patriots, especially week 17. For some reason, they always beat the Patriots on week 7, or that's the Dolphins. But the Patriots always lose in week 17 to a division team. Most of the time the Dolphins, but I think that, I don't know, I think maybe the Patriots. Besides that, I don't see them losing any games or winning any games. After that, I have the Patriots at 5-11. And yeah, I could see them maybe losing one game to the Jets. I'll just put them here at 5-11 for now. They currently sit at 2-5. I think they'll finish the season 3-6. I think that's reasonable with their schedule. 2 games against the Jets, and then possibly winning against Dolphins, possibly Texans, maybe Chargers, something like that. And then Miami at 9-7, who will also are going to miss out the playoffs due to tiebreakers, just like the Browns. Very talented team at the beginning of the season. I said they were a sneaky playoff pick. Didn't look when they're 1-3. That kind of looked like a bad prediction, but now I've been rewarded with that prediction, and now they've actually looking like a sneaky playoff team, like I said. And the Bills are going to be 10-6 to win the division. I think they're a good team, not a great team, so I don't have them any higher than where they are right now. In the AFC West, I have the Chargers in last place, tied with the Broncos in terms of record at 6-10. But since the Broncos just won this game against the Chargers, when I went through my predictions, that game gave them a slight edge in terms of their divisional record and was able to give them a slight advantage in that sense and gave them the tiebreaker. So they're both 6-10. Both teams that are talented, that have dealt with a lot of injuries over the course of the season so far. That's where I have them. And then the Raiders at 9-7, who make the playoffs due to tiebreakers. I don't think they're good enough to be 11-5. But I think 9-7 is fitting for them. And then I got the Chiefs in first place in that division at 14-2. Yeah, they're a great team. They've already lost one game. I only think they'll lose one more throughout the season. In my opinion, they've got 2 losable games coming up in the back half of the schedule against the Saints and the Buccaneers. I think they'll lose one of those. So I'm at 14-2. AFC South, I have the I have the Jaguars in last place at 1-15. If they were playing any semi-competent team that wasn't the Colts, I think they would have won week 1 because the Colts have not won a week 1 away game in over a decade. So honestly week, and they haven't won a single week 1 game in I believe 8 years. So this might be the 9th year, I think. Maybe the 8th, I'm not sure. Honestly, if you play the Colts week 1, you could honestly, as a Colts fan, I think you could just mark that as a win. It's just crazy, man. But I think that's the only one they're going to get all season. I think they're projected to be the worst team going in the league going into the season, and I think they still would have been one. And I still think they're one of the worst teams in the league. Texans at 4-12, disappointing season for them. They've got a pretty tough schedule coming up. They've got a couple games which I could see them winning. Maybe the Bengals, maybe the Patriots, or the Lions, but maybe I think they'll beat the Jaguars this week. Besides that, there's not much for me to see for them to get past 4-12. I think they'll beat the Bengals and the Patriots maybe, which will put them at 4-12. Besides that, they got the Titans, Colts, Bears, Colts, and Browns and Lions, who I think they'll all lose to. And then we got the Colts at 10-6, tied with the Titans, who are also at 10-6, but the Colts already lost one divisional game to the Jaguars, and I think they'll split with the Titans, which would give the Titans their only divisional loss. But since the Colts lost to the Jaguars, the Titans would get the tiebreaker there in terms of divisional record, and that'd give the Titans the number 1 spot in that division at 10-6. They're both 10-6 in my mind. If the Colts can beat the Ravens this weekend, which as a Colts fan I'm very optimistic about, just because of we match up well against the Ravens in terms of how our defense is built as compared to their offense. But I don't know. I don't think it's gonna happen. But if it does, that I feel like I could potentially see us going 12-4, maybe. I'd say at 12-4 at best. Now it's time for the NFC for this. So for the NFC North, I had the Vikings in last place at 7-9. I think this division honestly is pretty strong in terms of they got the Packers an elite team, and they've got a bunch of average to like semi, and they get like a bunch of like average to like okay, good teams in there, which makes them a solid division. Not a great division like the NFC West or the AFC North, but a solid division. So Minnesota in last place at 7-9. Normally that's like a second place or third place finishing record. And they got Detroit in third at 8-8. I think they can still be a 500 team. They were going into that Colts game, and they've got a relatively easy schedule towards the end of the season. They got the Vikings, football team, Panthers, Texans, Vikings again, all winnable games. So I think they'll go 8-8. They got the Bears at 9-7, who 9-7 is normally a playoff record. But in the NFC, it's pretty loaded in terms of teams racing for the wild card. You got the Rams, you got the Cardinals, you got the Saints. You got the Bears in there too. I don't think the Bears will be able to keep up with some of the teams I've mentioned before that. And they'll go 9-7, miss the playoffs, and the Packers are going to be 12-4, winning that division. Still an elite team. Had some struggles against the Vikings and the Bucks, obviously. But I still think that Aaron Rodgers can be Aaron Rodgers, especially with Devontae Adams back and pull it around, win this division, grab them a decent seed in the playoffs. For the NFC East, I have the Giants in last place at 2-14. The Dallas in third at 4-12. I think that the Dallas, they've got a lot of talent on offense. So even with no matter the quarterback, I think they win, another game or two. I got Washington at 6-10. I think this football team can be surprisingly. I don't want to say surprisingly good because it's not going to be good, but surprisingly average and not bad. And they got the Philly at 6-9-1. Winning that division, that's kind of sad that they are winning the division at 6-9-1. And then for the NFC West, I have the Niners in last place at 7-9. Strongest division in the NFL, in my man. If the Niners weren't so injured, they'd be a playoff team. I think this team would send 4 teams to the playoffs, but they're injured. But I still think they can go 7-9 because even with all their injuries, they're still a really talented team. Like last year, they had an ungodly amount of talent last year. I still think they have enough talent on that team to potentially take them to 7-9. The Rams, I have that in third. The Cardinals and the Cardinals in second. They're both 11-5. Cardinals win based on division. Get the tiebreaker based on the divisional record. They're both wildcard teams in my mind. And then the Seattle Seahawks win the division at 13-3. In the NFC South, I have the Carolina Panthers and Atlanta Falcons, both at 5-11. I don't think the Panthers can turn it around. They'll be a mediocre team just like the Falcons, and they'll both be 5-11. But when I was doing my predictions, the Falcons got one more win in the division than the Panthers, which gave them a tiebreaker. And then the 2 top teams will get playoff spots in my mind: the Saints at 11-5 and the Buccaneers at 12-4. That's gonna wrap it up for my regular season predictions. Now let's move into the playoffs.
All right, starting with my playoffs. First round, I've got Ravens, Bills, Colts, Steelers, Raiders, Titans, Saints, Buccaneers, Packers, Rams, and Cardinals, Eagles. For our first game, I'm going to have the Ravens edging out the Bills. I think this is a little bit of an upset, but I think if the Ravens can play like the Ravens are destined to play, they can definitely beat this Bills team who are still young and are going to get better. Colts, Steelers, this is really no debate. It's definitely the Steelers. I'm sorry, Colts fans. I'm sorry, Brennan, but Steelers are easily winning that game. Raiders, Titans. Don't have the Titans. Like I said, the Raiders are a mediocre team who just so happen to go 11-5. So I'm gonna have the Titans winning that game. Saints, Buccaneers. I'm gonna have the Buccaneers going. The Saints have not been good this season, or not been too good this season, especially not as good as we thought. For some reason, we had them as Super Bowl favorites. That was pretty outrageous pick. Now that I think of it, Buccaneers are going to win that game. Packers, Rams. Packers, no question about it. Cardinals, Eagles. This is the most obvious one. Cardinals. No way the Eagles are beating the Cardinals. Our next round, we've got Chiefs, Ravens, Steelers, Titans, Buccaneers versus Packers, and Cardinals, Seahawks. Chiefs, Ravens, Chiefs. Chiefs are a top 3 team in the league, so I think it's going to be an easy road past this game for them. Steelers, Titans. The Steelers are the best team in the league right now, so it's going to go to the Steelers. Buccaneers, Packers. Packers are in my opinion, the third best team in the league. They're going to beat the Buccaneers. And Cardinals, Seahawks. Seahawks, which in my opinion are the fourth best, are going to take this game and move on. Chiefs versus Steelers in our next round. I'm going to have the Steelers. I think they're playing better football than the Chiefs. I think that they can really win this game. Steelers are worst teams in the league right now, and I definitely think they can take this one against the Chiefs. And Packers Seahawks. This is going to be an amazing matchup if it happens, but I'm going to have Packers winning the game. The Packers win the game. It's going to be a stellar game to watch if it happens, but the Packers are one of the best teams. Seahawks are one of the best teams. Clash of two Titans to move on to our Super Bowl. Steelers, Packers, and I'm gonna call an upset here. I'm going Packers. I believe it was Super Bowl 45. Steelers, Packers. I really think the Packers can win this game. It's gonna be very close. The most obvious pick is the Steelers, but I wanna spice things up. I'm gonna say the Packers are gonna win this game, and Packers are gonna be your Super Bowl champion.
Bold prediction for the Packers there. Some people are questioning them after some rough losses over the past couple of weeks for the Pack. But now time for my playoff predictions. So in the first round, I'm going to have on the AFC, 6-seed Colts going up against the 3-seed Titans. I am going to, as a Colts fan, be extremely biased and pick the Colts. That's pretty much almost all bias. But some logic I could put into this is that the Colts do match up. The Colts always have had the Titans number, and but since the Titans haven't really made the playoffs in the last almost at all for the last decade, while the Colts have been consistently making the playoffs, I believe 7 years out of the last decade, 6 or 7 years. I don't think they've been in the playoffs in the same time for a while, and definitely haven't played each other. But I'm gonna just pretty much biased pick the Colts here. And the Colts, they match up well with the Titans running attacks. The Colts are a defense built to stop the run. I'm pretty much biased picked with the Colts there, but I'm just gonna do it because I believe. And then we got the Raiders 7 seed going against the 2 seed Chiefs. I'm gonna pick the Chiefs. It's pretty obvious. Chiefs are gonna beat that Raiders team. I mean, I don't care if the Raiders beat them earlier on in the season. When it comes playoff time, the best teams are gonna shine. I think the Chiefs are gonna shine. And then last game in the AFC is the Ravens 5 seed against the Bills 4 seed. I'm gonna have the Ravens winning this one. They may be the lower seed, but they are definitely the better team. So I'm gonna pick them in that game. And then the NFC, I have the 7 seed Rams going against the 2 seed Buccaneers, and I'm gonna pick the Buccaneers here. I think that obviously Buccaneers have shown they're definitely one of the best teams in the NFL. I question them going to season. I said they're not a Super Bowl contender. They're a lock for the playoffs as a wild card in my mind, but they're not a Super Bowl contender. They've proven me wrong. They've proved they are a Super Bowl contender. So I'm gonna pick them here to beat the Rams. And then for my next prediction, Packers 3 seed against the Cardinals 6 seed. I think it'll be a good game too. Very high-powered offenses, but I think Aaron Rodgers' experience edges out Kyler Murray's inexperience here. And normally, when a quarterback coaching duo goes into the playoffs for their first time, and they're young and inexperienced, they normally even if and honestly, the Packers are the better team here in my opinion. No matter even though their struggles the last few games, they bounced back against the Niners and absolutely destroyed them. They played great on offense. I think they're a better team than the Cardinals, but even when the team with the young, QB head coach duo, even if they're the better team, sometimes lose, i.e. Jared Goff and Sean McVay, their first year making the playoffs. They lost in the wild card round, and it just happens. So I think that the Packers experience will edge out the Cardinals' inexperience. And then last game is the Saints 5 seed versus the Eagles 4 seed. Saints won this one easily. Any team that's good enough to make playoffs will beat the Eagles easily. I mean, I feel like Eagles could potentially make it tough. I don't think so. I mean, it could happen because it's the NFL and you never know what can happen. But I'm not going to predict that one. Even Eagles are going to win the division, luckily, and all that stuff. So I think I'll put the Saints here. And I have them as, I think I said, my Super Bowl favorite going into the season, which I'm not a Saints fan anyway. that was just a complete whiff on that prediction. But I still do think they have a shot to potentially, make the NFC Championship maybe if they get an easy matchup in the wild card round. I think they'll make the division round, and I think they can surprise people because Drew Brees is obviously still Drew Brees. But I don't know anymore. That was kind of a whiff on my part. But yeah, let's move on to the divisional round, starting in the AFC with this 1-seed Steelers against the 6-seed Colts. I'm not going to be biased anymore. I'm going to go with the clearly better team here in the Steelers. I think the Colts could give them some, I think I think the Colts could give them some trouble, just as I said they could in the regular season. But I still think the Steelers will win both those matchups, even though I think that, Colts get into some trouble, like I said, because Phillip Rivers does historically play well in poor weather. So even though the Colts are an indoor team that, doesn't normally play well outside in the snow, when when Peyton was playing for them, or even when Andrew Luck was playing for them, Andrew Luck struggled sometimes out in the snow. Did have a couple good games though, but most of the time he struggled. Phillip Rivers historically has been great in snow as a quarterback that's been on a warm weather team his entire career. So yeah, I'm gonna pick, but still I'm gonna pick the Steelers here. And then so my next game in the divisional round is gonna be the Chiefs Ravens. This is the matchup we all wanted to see last year in the AFC Championship game. Didn't happen, but we'll get to see it now in the divisional round. But I think the Chiefs will win this one. Close. It'll be a great matchup. And then the NFC Buccaneers, I think, will beat the Packers. They already proved they can beat them once. I think they'll beat them twice in the playoffs here in the second round. And then the other game, Saints Seahawks. Seahawks, I think, as the 1 seed getting a bye, they're well rested. They'll come into this game ready to play. Russell Wilson will be looking for a second ring after that, emotional loss to the Patriots when he was going for back-to-back. Hasn't been back since, but he's been close, but not quite. He's going to be looking to get back this year, and he beats the Saints coming off a bye. He's ready, and he tears their defense apart and wins that game. In the AFC Championship, I have the Steelers versus the Chiefs. I think coming into this game, you have a Chiefs team that can play in cold weather. They just came off a big win against the Ravens. I think that'll be a close one. And I think that the Steelers team comes in a little bit cocky at 15-1. And, this team's got some young pieces on it that have been shown talent. And all around their roster, there's no bad on their roster, in my opinion. But they're also, at the same time, isn't as much great as there is on the Chiefs team. And, being solid, being well-rounded is great in the regular season. And it also is great in the playoffs. But if you don't have enough great on your team, you're not going to win the playoffs. I think the Chiefs have a lot of great. They got the great Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes. Their running game is going to be good with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell. Their defense is good, not great, but they've got some great players on that team like Tyrann Mathieu and Chris Jones, who shined last playoffs and I think will again this playoffs. That's what happens when you have great players. They shine in the playoffs. In the regular season, it's kind of everyone works together and stuff, but in the playoffs, the great players will shine. The Steelers don't have too much. Steelers don't have enough great on their team for me to pick them here. They got, Big Ben, he's good. The running game is good. The receiver core is good. Their O-line is good. Their D-line is great. Their linebackers are great when they're healthy. And their secondary, minus corners, is good. I just don't think they have enough great. They don't have enough as much great as the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs will win because they have the great factor. That's a lot of greats I just said. And then the NFC Championship, Seahawks or Buccaneers. So the 1-2 seed are playing in the in the championship games in both conferences. But the difference in the NFC is that the 1 seed will win as opposed to the 2 seed. I think the Seahawks will win. I think Russell Wilson's going to be hungry for that ring. I was talking about that great factor. The Buccaneers do have a lot of great, but I think the Seahawks have, about the same great, but, they got great Russell Wilson. I think Chris Carson is great. I think that the receivers are great. Jamal Adams is great. Carlos Dunlap, I think, will come in. I think he'll, as a veteran, be able to make plays in the playoffs. And Bobby Wagner, obviously, is great. That defense, in terms of statistically, they're not the best defense. They're just pretty average. But situationally, if you watch those games, they make big plays and big moments. That's their They're great players making great plays at big moments. And that'll help them out come playoff time. I think the Seahawks will edge out the Buccaneers here. And in the Super Bowl, I got the Seahawks versus the Chiefs. I think this might this was probably a dream matchup for some people coming to the season. Chiefs are coming in. They're looking to go back-to-back for the first time since Brady did with the Patriots back in the mid-2000s. The Seahawks are coming in. Russell Wilson hungry for a second ring. And I think what's going to happen here is I'll talk about that great factor. And the Chiefs, I think they got a lot of great in that team. Their team is very good. But what I think is going to happen in this game is I think it's going to be one of the greatest Super Bowls we've ever seen. Because I think what's going to happen is that both these teams are more offense than defense. And I think both offenses will score a lot of points. This will be one of the most high-scoring Super Bowls ever in my mind. They'll both score above 30, I think. It's going to be a crazy good game, but I think the Seahawks defense, like I said, they make big plays and big moments. I think they'll make another big play and a big moment in the Super Bowl and win the game for that team. I think the Super Bowl is going to be offense all game long until the very end, where the Seahawks defense is the team that is a unit that wins it all. So I think the Seahawks will win the Super Bowl. As the 1 seed, it's kind of like it's kind of a fallback to pick the 1 seed, to pick a 1 seed to go all the way. But that's what I think is going to happen, and if this is the one matchup we get, I think I'll be rooting for Russell Wilson to get another ring. So that's gonna wrap it up for our updated 2020 regular season and postseason predictions. Hopefully you enjoyed. It's also gonna wrap up our mid-season, just kind of special week. We'll have normal episodes coming out next week we'll start off with NFL Weekend Review and then a full episode to come after that. But yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.